Yes, indeed. Well,
Ready for this little chunk of goodness here.
yeah, me too. I've been smiling about this one all week long, brother.
Ping, ping.
Mhm.
So, you ready to hop into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Man Movie Meltdown. We are men, we watch movies, and we give you our takeaways on those movies. And this week, I got a new one for me. I'm a virgin when it comes to this film, so don't judge. That's Midnight Cowboy from 1969. Kind of keeping it with the same theme, Mr. John Schlesinger. This film also features Dustin Hoffman, who we saw a couple weeks ago in The Marathon Man, and John Boyd, which, I mean, he's just his presence, his stature compared to Dustin Hoffman is what has always stood out about this film without watching it, just seeing the stills from it. I like that dynamic. But yeah, I'm excited. Brother Taint's joining me here. I'm the Cigar Weaver, and I think we're gonna take a bite out of this Big Apple film. Brother Taint, you've seen this film, and you were perking up when I mentioned it last week. So I want to toss it over to you and just kind of get some of your what you're looking forward to, what maybe we can expect without giving away too much. And I just kind of curious, pick your brain for a sec.
Well, I'd like to say that it's in New York, check. In the 1970s, maybe late 60s, early 70s, check.
Mm,
Um, so right there, we're already we're already rolling as far as the kind of movies I love. So and I love how we're still on that John Schlesinger train, baby.
choo choo.
I'm excited to hit that third stop.
Yeah, we've oiled up those tracks. We got the locomotive nice and steamy, just running on the tracks. John Schlesinger wasn't someone who I necessarily had on my radar. Um, you know, pretty much up until this past month. Like as putting him up there with some of the great directors that we've gone through. Comes to mind William Friedkin. I think I mentioned this last week. We've kind of ventured into his films. John Carpenter, obviously, another heavy hitter, which it's a Man Movie Meltdown candidate for favorite directors. I would say is Stanley Kubrick. Just great cinema. Just a mastermind behind cinema. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun that we're on this train, like you said. Let's just keep going. We also, what I'm looking forward to in this film is that we have some crossover between cast in some of the previous Schlesinger films and also cinematography. So Adam Hollander also does this one, and the music is also the same as it was from Falcon and the Snowman. But Adam Hollander did a Marathon Man in New York City, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting back to New York City. We spent a little time on the West Coast and down south of the border last week, which was a fun ride. You have the burning question that I wait to ask you is what you drinking, smoking, or snacking this week?
Well,
Brother Tank.
oh, brother Tank's gonna be drinking some seltzer water because
That
it's
we can't show on camera because it's too risque for this show.
yeah,
Even for an X-rated movie.
it's It's just it's some really sexy seltzer water. Um, and Brother Taint's doing that dry January. Uh, and then I'm hitting that 86 cacao.
Woo! That dark,
Yeah.
man. Woo! Dark and bitter. My
Yeah.
soul.
Intense dark is what it's called. Intense dark.
Mm,
So, Weavies, cigar Weavies,
mm.
what you drinking, what you smoking, and what you snacking now that you got your teeth in order?
Yeah, I'm kind of back to my regular pitch count. So yeah, man. Drinking. I'm gonna keep it kind of with last week's theme. I'm gonna go with the Turbo Dog, and I want to keep that. We're now in carnival season. Woohoo! So I wanted to have a little bit of local flair, and then I do have a real well-rounded meal here. I got some penne pasta, a little chicken breast, and then of course a little king cake to finish it off and go with
Oh,
that.
hell yeah.
The, the cream cheese. They didn't
Oh,
have the
hell yeah.
Bavarian cream, so I had to go with the cream cheese.
Just as good, brother. Just as
Mm.
good.
And so I'm really looking forward to cutting up and lighting tonight with this little bad boy. This is the Oliva. Whoa, oh, I got a little blur. There we go. Yeah. Oh, too risque.
You gotta
It's
pay.
the
You gotta pay to play.
yeah, beta play. It's the Oliva V Milano Figurado. Highly rated cigar. One of my favorites. And yeah, this is kind of a delayed celebratory cigar from closing on the house, making it into the new year. I was kind of waiting to close on the house before I lit up something special to me. This is a special cigar to me, one that I usually smoke around the holidays and around celebratory time. So looking forward to getting back to my cigar weaver ways.
Well, right
So
on,
yeah.
brother. Brother, oh my brother. Talk to
Mm.
me. What a great buddy film we got in Midnight Cowboy. John Schlesinger gave us another fucking gift. And how amazing is it that that our boy uh from that Dustin Hoffman does two so different uh portrayals of different characters.
Hmm.
That's some serious range. Um, it's pretty amazing. Um, and I also love that even though it's it's nothing to what we consider X these days, it was the only X-rated film to ever win an Oscar, as everybody knows. And I just love that little fact about it. And to me, I remember when we were starting this, you were talking about how you had never seen it, and you were always kind of struck how they had, how there was a height difference between the two of them. And to me, whenever I kind of looked at that, I always sort of looked at it as a sort of Don Quixote type pairing, where they had Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, and it makes me think of the relationship that develops between these two down and out opposites.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
there's so many. This was written by a guy named, I think it was Walter Salt, and he was actually a dude who was a writer who was blacklisted, and then he went through years of being blacklisted, and then actually had a big comeback. And became a lauded writer. And he gives some of the greatest lines to Dustin Hoffman's character. I love these lines where he's constantly he's constantly doing this. How he where John Voight's like, I'm a hustler, and he's like, well, how would I know? You got to tell a person something like that. All those little kind of character solidifying lines where it's like who this guy is, and that's what this guy would say. Um, and I just love how he's a kleptomaniac. He's constantly stealing. One question I have, I'm going to have to do a little research. At one point, um, some woman calls him a provolone, which is basically calling somebody cheese. And I wonder, I've never heard that before. I'm gonna have to find that out. I like that they were like for one part of their little adventure, they were in Italian neighborhood. Um, I loved. I don't know if this was. I guess John Schlesinger or Adam Holland, the cinematographer. But I loved how they used. I guess it was the both of them combined. I loved how they had these little montages that they used to tell the story
Yeah.
and to like kind of give you the vibe. Like they had that montage of the city when they're really kind of they're kind of putting you in that, be like, oh, this is what it's like in the city. It's moving fast and lights everywhere, and um those montages were really good for conveying things. And then they also had the whole, the dream montages. I loved that dream montage that Ratso has when he's like, when they're dreaming about what it's going to be like when he gets all that hotel full of old ladies. Uh,
Yeah.
and he's in that dream montage. Oh my God, that was fantastic. Interesting too how John Voight's kind of built his character. It's kind of like this dumb Joe Buck, but then you kind of see you get that little sarcasm when he's confronting Ratso, and he's like, "Whoa, well, I must have got the wrong impression of you."
Yeah.
It just kind of shows you an intelligence there behind the whole Will Hook. Well, I guess we got to go Hook. Um, I thought they also they I thought the cinematographer did a great job of, there's like a lot of shots of advertising from that time, and they also incorporate the advertising in the story where he thinks money is spelled mo, like it is on the building. They actually did show that shot of the money building.
Yeah.
um I loved how but he really elevated the photography of that advertisement to art, the way that he shot that. I really thought that really kind of struck me as something, a really important aspect to his work in this film. I think you could make an argument to just call it Joe Buck's Great Adventure. But I really, I really like
Woo!
that. I really like that they named it Midnight Cowboy. Um, you know, that's the stuff of a best film right there. That's how,
Mhm.
that's how you do it. That's how you make an Oscar-winning best film. And to me, it just it's so good that it's above, it elevates it to such a high level. Um, and what's at the core of that is the friendship that Joe Buck uh, develops with this down and out hustler. and he really becomes like proton to neutron, and he goes all the way to the end with him. And I think it's almost a perfect little story, perfect little fairy tale, perfect little American fairy tale.
Yeah.
uh had the reality where the dream and where the dream hits where the dream hits the reality, and then the reality just bores in and just barely takes your soul. You're lucky to get out. You're lucky to get out alive. You're lucky to get out with any kind of soul left. And that's America, baby. Also got to say one
Yeah.
thing. God damn, that line. Here I am going to Florida and everything hurts and I'm peeing all over myself.
Almost. I love it.
I
I love it.
I don't want to pull into Florida with pee all over myself. Yeah, it was fantastic
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I think you touched on a lot of great points. Obviously, the achievements of this film, winning 3 Academy Awards in 1970 for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adaptation, but also rightfully so. I think let's see, Dustin Hoffman got a BAFTA for it, and John Voight got a Film Critics Award for Best Actor too. So, highly decorated film for its time, and it's one. Looking at these films, it's always like how they hold up. How they hold up. To today, and to me, the film style, the acting, the way the characters are portrayed, the cinematography, the score, and the soundtrack all work. It all works, and it takes you to that place in time, which was by design. Schlesinger, he wanted to film everything, in that raw, gritty kind of guerrilla, or maybe not so much guerrilla, but he wanted to keep it on location and the grittiness.
I read that a lot of this stuff was without permits. That's what I read. A lot of,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't really know what that
Right. I guess I was
it definitely felt like it was.
oh yeah, I was just saying basically saying that yeah, I just had that natural raw, very indie kind of slightly amateurish film style, but the way that they utilize some of that, I'm guessing they use like Super 8 or 8 millimeter or 16 millimeter film, throughout for like the party scene and some of that chase scene and cutting to the black and white was very. Yeah, I loved a lot of how they did that
A lot of
and
experimental cinematography in that movie.
yeah, which is interesting because you see some similar experimental cinematography. This film reminded me somewhat of like Easy Rider, which I believe came out in '69 as well, or '68, but around the same time. And they kind of have some similarities, but this one seemed a little more, um, well balanced, like a little. I don't want to say polished because it definitely is not like polished, not the right word, but a little more complete. Whereas I think Easy Rider and the way that they did some similar experimental filmmaking, it just was a little rougher. Which was okay. It's a great film in itself, but this just it felt like everything they experimented with just worked. It just kept it going. Like I never felt lost. Like at any point, there was obviously some questions like going to those flashbacks for Joe Buck, like what exactly happened. I mean, you get the picture, you get the gist of it, but it's like,
Yeah.
how much did embellish in going back in that, and they kind of
Yeah,
like a
I think that's very true about those things, is that the way that was filmed, I felt the same way of what you're saying, is that I felt like this is his memory of a shameful event. And so I don't even feel like those images were maybe the truth. I just feel like it was like you were just feeling the raw terror that he was feeling.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, it goes back to childhood trauma
Oh yeah,
too.
Joe Buck had some serious PTSD.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
like Joe Buck was walking around slinging D, but he was also slinging some PTSD.
uh, yeah, man. I like that. You know, as the story kind of started getting going, like as we neared the climax and the conclusion and everything, they let the story play out linearly. They didn't go back to a lot of that, which would have been an easy choice to do. I think it still could have worked, but um, I've seen films that do that. They kind of practice that restraint and not to like show all that insecurity and everything. And for me, it just allowed the story to breathe and come to a natural resolution. Whereas it's almost like, I don't know, it could have muddied it up if they would have tried to stick some of that in the last, 10, 15 minutes of the film. I like that they practiced the restraint there. It built up the storyline throughout the beginning and the middle, and they kind of pulled back on that towards the end. I really like that. Um, what can you say? I mean, Dustin Hoffman. I mean, he's just so masterful in everything, and this is early on in his career, coming on the heels of The Freshman. Really before he peaks. He had so many great roles through the '70s, and obviously,
You mean The Graduate?
oh, The Graduate, yeah,
Yeah, the freshman was Matthew Broderick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Which,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. I cede the
Matthew
floor.
Broderick, Marlon Brando,
I cede the floor, good sir.
yeah. No, thank you. 'Cause I just rolling off. But yeah, I mean, I think it was great because I mean, his characters, they're so uniquely different, but still, he has his Hoffman esque spin to it and everything. But they're always uniquely different, and like you said, between the films we watched recently, Marathon Man and here Midnight Cowboy, I think he did such a great job and just really being true to that role. And of course, in methodical fashion, he studied up on you know people living in poverty, homeless people. Um, he walked around with a limp, developed during filming, but also preparing for the role. He apparently didn't shower and kind of was just like staying up and not bathing, and is wearing like blisters on his feet, and just really threw himself into this role. And a lot of the lines like "I'm walking here" was ab lib stuff. So I think it's great that you mentioned some of those lines that he had, which possibly some of those zingers were just all from Hoffman himself. Though I do think that it was a great adaptation, and great writing in this. But just having someone like Dustin Hoffman to really let loose and put his creative juice behind it just makes it even that more just some even better layers to it. And I mean, John Voight, man, phew, he he just really had a great portrayal of this character. It's like he was young, optimistic, vulnerable, but still stern and. Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, it kept made the character likable, which given some different acting choices or a different actor, he apparently was up against Warren Beatty for this role too, and they liked his portrayal best, and
Well,
he
honestly, I think William Beatty could have done this also.
oh
A lot
oh
of guys,
yeah,
who got Vince Vaughn could have done this. Um,
like
it like I think the character of Joe Buck is such a archetypal character that I really think that that's why it's such any actor would beg for this role because the character is so strong um that I could see. I mean, you could play this too, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's such a strong character. You put on the fucking hat and the character is there for everybody. But not to take anything away from John Voight. He definitely brought a very John Voightness to the character of Joe Buck. There's a lot of tenderness that he has towards Ratso that uh, that was very that was he really delivered. That was the hard part of that job. Show the growth of Joe Buck character.
yeah. Well, it's like either one of them could have been very, very unlikable throughout the film, but because I think of that relationship, even when one of them might be a little out of bounds, and kind of that friendship that they formed, for throughout the course of time in this film, just gave you some empathy towards them. Maybe it just kind of brought you, gave you a different perspective, and I love that there is a little bit of a lightheartedness, which we saw last week. I think we touched on last week that there was some comedic relief without being like over the head, like slap your knee funny, but it was like some good lightheartedness throughout the even physical stuff. Like last week with Sean Penn's character, like going, getting in the little back and forth, and then going in the toilet where you hear him, and then this week it's Ratso falling down the stairs and struggling to stay, which is it's sad, he's deteriorating, but at the same time it's just like, but him pissing on himself on the bus, that's it was lightheartedness. And
Yeah. And also they did a good job where like God, you see him get beat down so much and then finally he hooks up with kind of that Italian lady with the short hair
mhm.
and finally makes a little money. Uh and we also get a little bit of a relief. He gets to, that was really good storytelling. Um, I don't know. You have to have a lot of like foresight to be able to like go make the ups and the downs. Because it almost seems that like to stick an up in the middle of a down, down, downward spiral, it is very smart stuff. It's very smart writing. It lets the audience, it gives the audience another gasp of breath
Yeah.
right before you pull the rug out from them ultimately, you know. So it's really smart writing.
Yeah, I mean, New York in that time period, it's through the 60s, 70s, late 60s, all through the 70s, just great. Love the the view of Times Square, which anytime we go Times Square in this time period, man, it's great because it's so different from what I've gotten to know. I mean, I only, when I went to New York, it was early 2010s or something, so fairly recent in the grand scheme of things. So I never really got that grittiness of Times Square. It's basically Disney World now. So I always like seeing that, kind of the heart, the teeth of it. Um, and even, like it, it's got some dark tones. It's definitely gritty, but
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah. You're fucking, you know, selling flesh
oh yeah,
to
but
get your buddy some medicine.
yeah, yeah. But the thing that it's the delivery that they made the pill easier to swallow. It wasn't like ramming down your throat. It was tough, but they made it more digestible, I guess.
Well,
And like the
there's a certain romanticism to go into the big city. It's almost like La Boheme. It's a very artistic,
yeah.
the artist suffers life. And you could make an argument that Joe Buck was a love artist and Ratso was a con artist. And so this was a little bit like La Boheme in New York.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, I can feel that. Yeah, and they play into that, that kind of fantasy.
That story repeats itself over and over again. It's just like a natural, you're a young innocent drawn to the excitement of the city, and then the reality really pitches you on the ass and slaps you on the face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it does. For me, just bringing back memories of some younger days in New Orleans, and it's like you find that crowd. It still exists to this day,
Yeah.
and it's just like a tale as old as time. You can go back to, it's like Paris and what, like the 19th century, and the artists. It just kind of has that vibe of, yeah, everybody's kind of struggling, making it together, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Then you got like these things where it's like, they kind of gather and just like a little shanty town, like a shanty potluck feast.
Oh yeah.
Reaching that point where we've talked a lot about the film. We've said some things. Yeah, I'm excited that I finally got this off my watch list, my man movie bucket list. But the great question that we always have is it a man movie?
Just put it to you like this: my Schlesinger is rock hard.
Mm, there we go. Short and sweet, or stiff, I should say.
or,
Yeah.
or maybe thick and stiff. Why is it got to be short and stiff, huh?
Hey man, no judge, man. Yeah, I'm gonna compare it to old Joe Buck once he's fresh off the bus. Yeah, he gets that lady, his first lady. Yeah, he's a rock hard stud, and that's what this is. It's a stud man movie for me, man. He's
Yes, indeed.
coming out swinging.
What was
Uh,
um what was the film between Pacino? There was a similar kind of like man relationship between uh Pacino and Gene Hackman in that movie. It starts out they're on a lonely
yeah,
road. I can't remember the name of that film. What's the name of that film?
Scarecrow, the Scarecrow, yeah, Scarecrow.
Yeah, there's this like just you talking there just made my mind go straight to that image of him hitchhiking on the road in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, well, and that it does have some similar. I was yeah, there was themes throughout this film, and it wasn't specifically this movie, but I was like, yeah, this just kind of reminds me of some films we watched, and I'm glad you brought that up because it definitely had that similar dynamic, with one guy's got like a goal in mind. He's got to get to what was it, like Pittsburgh? Gene Hackman's guy. Got to get Pittsburgh. Got some money there, and then Pacino's character was like, I gotta, gotta go see this kid I never met and everything, um, they both kind of have their own mission, but kind of, their lives intertwine and they're on this adventure together. And then obviously, Pacino's character has the iller fate of the two, kind of like our boy Ratso. So, um, yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because there was definitely flashes of that, coming up throughout this film.
Mm.
Good old, a little bit of a somber buddy movie. It's like I never want to see myself as the less fortunate one, but it's all right. As long as if I wet myself and you can change my pants and I die happy, then I've lived a good life.
Oh, yeah. I just assumed I was Ratso.
Yeah, I think it changed throughout. There was a
Yeah.
shift
Yeah.
where I was like, no, I want to be around some
Cradle me.
great of me. All right, so this is Man Movie Meltdown. That was Midnight Cowboy, 1969. A great John Schlesinger film with Dustin Hoffman and John Boyd. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back at you next week. Peace. Man Movie
Peace.
Matter.
Woo. Oh, let me take a piss. I'll be right back.
Yeah.